Hey guys, it's Godbars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 226th episode of my series, where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it has, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. It's been a pretty good while since I last discussed the iconic rapper-producer duo that is Pete Rock and CL Smooth. So if you never caught my review for their 1994 classic, The Main Ingredient, I'll link that down below so you can check it out. However, that was the second album out of the two game-changing projects this collaboration gifted us. And the first came in 1992 with the timeless boom bap masterpiece that is Mecca and the Soul Brother. This is one of the albums that comes to mind right away when you think of LPs that set the standard for jazzy New York hip hop, alongside other game changing Golden Age LPs like A Tribe Called Quest, Slow and Theory, Freestyle Fellowship's Inner City Griots, Blowout Comb by Diggable Planets, Bizarre Ride to the Far Side by Farside, Balloon Mind State by De La Soul, Resurrection by Common, Do You Want More by The Roots, and of course the first volume of Jazzmatazz by Guru of Gangstar. However, unlike virtually all of those other acts, Pete and CL would only end up releasing two albums together, which just so happened to be a pair of genre-defining LPs for Golden Age New York boom bap. My personal favorite between these two LPs switches back and forth depending on what day you ask me, but if today I had to choose between The Main Ingredient and Mecca and the Soul Brother, I would probably have to pick the latter. I don't think either project really has much, if any, slippage throughout their track lists, but I have to edge it slightly in favor of the debut, if not just for the emotion-filled, top-tier piece of art that is the song They Reminisce Over You, or Troy. I virtually always hear this song, and specifically the instrumental brought up, whenever a legend is asked about the most iconic or instantly recognizable horn sample in hip-hop. And it's for good reason, because I would be floored if anybody who considers themselves a golden age hip hop head hasn't at least heard this track before. But while the story behind the song is pretty infamous and well known amongst fans, you have to remember it was over 30 years ago at this point, so I think it's worth giving a little rundown for any younger or more recent fans who don't know the tragic tale behind They Reminisce Over You. This song was dedicated to Trouble T. Roy, who was one of the main members and backup dancers for the group Heavy D and the Boys, who actually gave Pete Rock his first real shot when they brought him on tour in the late 80s to get some experience behind the scenes, as the late icon Heavy D was actually Rock's cousin. However, in 1990, just 2 years before Mecca and the Soul Brother would take the world by storm, a tragic accident took place on tour where T. Roy and a few others were kind of messing around one day after a show, and unfortunately, someone decided to push a trash can down the raised exit ramp they were hanging out on. I don't believe the trash can itself actually hit him, but either way, it was close enough to where T. Roy ended up getting on a ledge to avoid getting hit, and subsequently lost his balance, falling approximately 2 stories. While he did technically survive the impact, he would be pronounced dead from his injuries the following day at the hospital, cutting his life soul-crushingly short at just the age of 22. While such an unfortunate and traumatic event surely devastated Pete, CL, not to mention all the other friends and family involved, but the sole saving grace of this situation was the touching tribute these two cooked up in honor of their deceased comrade. I have to share some of CL Smooth's killer verse on this track because he's definitely one of those dudes who was just born to be on the mic, and his voice sounds as smooth as butter over this jazzy loop, rapping, I reminisce so you never forget this, the days of way back, so many bear witness the fitness. Take the first letter out of each word in this joint, listen close as I prove my point. T to the R, the O-Y, how did you and I meet? In front of Big Lou's fighting in the street. But only you saw what took many time to see. I dedicate this to you for believing in me. Rain or shine, yes, in any weather. My grandmom Pam holds the family together. My Uncle Doc's the greatest. Better yet, the latest. If we're talking about a car, Uncle Sterling got the latest. I strive to be live 'cause I got no choice and run my own business like my Aunt Joyce. So Pete Rock hit me, enough respect due, when they reminisce over you. Listen. I also love the way CL tells stories from different times in his life on this track, sort of dividing them up so each verse is a little snapshot of different parts of his journey. While of course the vast majority of the production here is handled by Pete Rock, he did have some assistance by the likes of Neville Hodge as well as Large Professor of Main Source. There does happen to be a few guest appearances on this masterpiece as well, including Graplova, who's actually Pete's own brother, as well as Heavy D, Data, Rob O, Terry Robinson, Adafa Abdullah Muhammad, and Grand Puba of Brand Nubian. It wasn't too easy to narrow down the track list to my top 3 favorite songs, but ultimately I decided to go with They Reminisce Over You or Troy, Soul Brother number 1, and For Pete's Sake. Then for my honorable mentions that didn't quite make that top rung, I still want to make some recommendations in the form of Return of the Mecca, Ghettos of the Mind, Wig Out, Anger in the Nation, The Basement, Straighten It Out, On and On, Act Like You Know, and Skins. Thank you for watching my 226th video. Next up, we're returning to the West Coast to talk about, hands down, the most famous and beloved rapper to ever live. So look for that upload, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what moments you return to the most off one of the greatest hip-hop albums ever created. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.
Look, the key to my soul is locked in the cage it opens. The framework was made from my own rib cue. What came first, the crack or the crack lighter? Whichever one the first fiend used to bring back